The child of a narcissist is the worst victim of a narcissist. So they will feel entitled to all aspects of your life. I'm so happy that you are getting married. It's such a joyous occasion. You're gonna look gorgeous in white, and I will too. We're gonna be mother and daughter, both wearing white on our wedding day. It's gonna be great. And it's like, I don't even want you there, lady. You should understand that they are jealous of you. You should understand that there's a time for a fight, and there's a time for peace. I'm a 17-year-old woman, and digital art is my one calm, happy thing, saved for months from my part-time job to buy a drawing tablet and styluses. My mom hates me having interests that don't involve her. Says things like, why draw when you could help me, or art doesn't make money. Yesterday, came home from school and my art supplies were gone. Asked my mom and she said she threw them away because my room was too cluttered and I don't need distractions from school. Started crying and she got angry, calling me dramatic. Said I was ungrateful and she was doing me a favor, helping me focus on real things. The tablet cost $300 from my many grocery store shifts. When I mentioned this, she said if I really cared, I would have taken better care of it. My room wasn't messy. I keep art stuff organized in a desk drawer. She just wanted to hurt me because I spent time on something not involving her. Last year, she donated my guitar when I got good at playing, said it was too loud. Less than a year until college, counting down the days. Classic narcissistic behavior. There's one thing that this person gets wrong. She just wanted to hurt me because I spend time on something not involving her. That is incorrect. She doesn't want to hurt you. She never wants to hurt you. Your narcissistic parent never wants to hurt you. They love you. They will hurt you. They will hurt you very, very easily, but they never want to hurt you. Here's what's going on. So remember, when I'm a narcissist, you become part of my identity. They don't want to hurt you. Maybe they do. Here's what happens. If you become an independent person and you step outside of their box, they don't have an identity left. Then they become empty. They're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to keep you in the box. This is really important to understand. Because if you focus on they're trying to hurt me, you're going to miss the stuff. It's like, it's misdirection. You feel hurt, fair enough. Did they hurt you? Absolutely. Are they punishing you in some way for trying to be independent? Probably. So they are probably trying to hurt you some. Absolutely. So I'm wrong there. But the key thing that y'all need to understand is what's driving them is here is their kid trying to individuate into guitar, trying to individuate into art. And if they individuate in this way, then I'm left behind. See, if you don't understand this, this is why I'm saying this. If you don't understand this, less than a year until college, counting down the days. This person is making a critical strategic error. They assume that they're going to go to college. They assume that their narcissistic parent is going to let them go to college. They think that, oh my God, once I go to college, all of this will be over. It won't be over. It's just going to get worse. Do y'all understand what I'm saying here? This is the mistake. Unless we understand what the psychology is, we're going to get caught in frustrating struggles over and over and over again. You can go to college. We're going to show you how to go to college. But do y'all understand? Like, they're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to make you them. That's what they're doing. So once you understand that, things will get a lot easier, hopefully. Okay? Hey, if y'all relate to some of these experiences, check out our upcoming workshop, Healing from Narcissistic Parents. The workshop is run by Dr. Kirk Honda, an expert on personality disorders who's been featured on our channel a couple of times, and I'll let him tell you more.
Hello. So in this workshop, what you will learn is what exactly is narcissistic personality disorder. What are the common myths? What is it like to have a narcissistic parent? What are the long-term effects of having a narcissistic parent, as an adult? What are the common pitfalls as an adult in relationships and in life? And jobs. And also, briefly, to some extent, how do you recover and heal? The workshop is Sunday, July 27th, 2025, 4-hour workshop. Space is limited, so if you're interested, you might want to sign up ASAP. You can click below for more information. Sign up now.
So, how do we understand the narcissistic parent? There are two words that we need to focus on: jealousy and entitlement. These are the two things you should have in your mind when you're dealing with a narcissistic parent. So as a human being, as you start to individuate, they're like, they see it happening to you. And they're like, they've never been able to do that. So I don't know if this makes sense. Like, people will focus on hurt or anger or control or whatever. The primary thing that drives narcissistic parenting, in my experience, is actually jealousy. They hate that you're becoming, like they want that. They want that for themselves. And we can kind of see it here, right? Why draw when you could help me? Art doesn't make money. Hates having interests that don't involve her. So there's absolutely a process of individuation, but there's also intense jealousy. And this is why, like, I don't know if this makes sense, but when you are trying to understand your narcissistic parent, if you don't, just every time they're doing something, just pretend they're jealous of you. And how would you deal with someone who is jealous of you? So this goes to all kinds of other kinds of interesting behaviors. So the first is be careful about advertising your wins. The more you win, the more jealous they'll become. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that you can't advertise your wins or that you shouldn't be proud. Just be aware that if the more pride you feel, the more jealous they will become and the more it will activate their behaviors. The second thing is, if you can make your victory their victory, it will reduce the narcissistic behavior, right? You say, hey, I got a guitar. Thank you so much for supporting me. This gives people the ick. People fucking hate this. You don't want to give them credit. So fine, you don't have to. You can go the angry boundary setting route. You can do that. But the more that you give them some sense of ownership in what you do, the more you will reduce their narcissistic behaviors. I'm not saying that you should do this or shouldn't do this. Be very clear, chat. I'm saying if you want to manage their narcissistic behaviors, this works well. So y'all decide. My job here is to show you what the field is. It's not to recommend a course of action. Y'all decide, right? So the strategy that I like to use is like low and slow and gentle pull away without rupturing anything and evoking a lot of negative kind of stuff. Like that's, I think, is like works well. You can go the sudden boundary setting kind of way, but oftentimes that doesn't work, as we'll get to, because they'll evoke all kinds of behaviors. So just understand that they're jealous of you. And the more that you kind of give them credit for your successes in life, the better they'll feel. The better they feel internally. Remember, they don't know this. They have no insight into what they're feeling, but you're going to soothe them. They don't even know that they have a problem, and you're going to soothe them. Okay? Second thing is entitlement. So remember that their identity is based on you. You're part of their identity. So they will feel entitled to all aspects of your life. Oh, I'm so happy that you are getting married. It's such a joyous occasion. You're going to look gorgeous in white, and I will too. We're going to be mother and daughter, both wearing white on our wedding day. It's going to be great. By the way, you shouldn't wear that necklace. It's way too flashy. It's way too showy. I'm going to wear it instead, right? You can't really pull it off. It's better if I wear the flashy, showy necklace. So they feel entitled to your life. These are the two things that you need to understand about their internal motivations: entitlement and jealousy. Okay? Now, a couple of other things. So what makes this so damn frustrating? Just another point, okay? So remember over here, they don't have insight into what's going on inside of them. This is why this gives them ultimate, plausible deniability. And this is so damn frustrating. Zettai bogyo, ultimate defense. Okay? If I said that right. It's been a while since I was a weeb. Okay, so here's the problem. If I'm blind to my internal state, if I'm blind to my jealousy, if I'm blind to my sense of entitlement, if I'm blind to whatever, here's what's so frustrating. You come to them and you say, why do you hurt me? I don't hurt you. What are you talking about? This is why it's so damn frustrating to talk to them, because you notice all of these things. And if you talk to your narcissist parent, they will never understand. They have no insight into it. It's just a waste of time and energy. Waste of time and energy. To try to hold them accountable for their behavior is a waste of time and energy. Never going to work. Never going to work. So stop trying. Stop trying to get them to they literally do not have the capacity to see this negativity within them. Okay? Stop wasting your fucking time. You don't even need to. We'll get to why that's important. We want justice. We want them to admit what they're doing, right? But they're operating in this weird fictional world. And this is what's so frustrating, is like they're treating us like we live in their fictional world. Like this kind of shit. And this is what's so frustrating. They just make random shit up. I don't need distractions from school. My room was too colored. Stop being dramatic. Art doesn't make money. You need to be helping me. They just make up it's like, this is what's so fucking confusing. They just make up all this stuff in their head to justify their actions. And if you try to have a conversation with them, they will literally come up with just bullshit that makes no sense. No sense, because you live in the real world and they live in their narcissistic fictional world. Their narcissistic fictional world where all kinds of weird magical things can happen, where everyone is impressed when the bride's mother is wearing white and is the head of the show. Oh my God, wouldn't it be hilarious for the gram if I did the first dance with your husband, your new husband? It'll be such a great prank. Let's do that. Let's do it for the gram. Let's show everybody how great. Oh my God, we're going to be besties. Let's be besties. And it's like, I don't even want you there, lady. I don't even want you there. How are you so crazy? Like, they're so fucking deluded. And the reason they're deluded is because there's all these things going on inside them that they have no insight into. So they have to construct all of this stuff on the outside that like makes it make sense. Okay? Here's the other messed up thing. So we're going to explain why this is so frustrating. So the other thing that's going on, here's the key thing to understand. So they're empty on the inside, right? Or sorry, they're not empty. They're blind. So they're blind to this. They don't see it. But that doesn't mean that stuff doesn't happen. So there's all kinds of lively stuff going on here, right? And here's the crazy thing. Narcissistic parents know they're hurting you. They know they're hurting you, and they feel immense guilt. So when they feel immense guilt, what do they say? Doing me a favor, helping me focus on real things. Does that make sense? I don't need distraction. Oh, I'm not hurting you. I feel guilty. So how do they deal with that guilt? For your own good. And if they can convince you of that, if they can convince themselves of that, then the guilt disappears. Does that make sense? So this is what's also so frustrating. You're like, what the fuck do you mean for my own good? I saved up for weeks to buy this thing. This is something I'm excited about, something I'm passionate about. I do it in my free time. I'm 17 years old. I work extra shifts at the grocery store and I get good grades. I'm going to college. What kind of fucking crazy planet are you living on? And it's so frustrating. Half of the frustration is a lack of understanding. Half of the frustration is not knowing what's going on. So they hurt you, they feel guilty, and this is one of the most frustrating things that narcissistic parents do. They feel jealous, they act, you feel hurt, then they feel guilt, and then they act again, and then you feel enraged. It is the soothing of their own guilt, which I gotta just say, just as a psychiatrist, just top of mind, kind of, this isn't like evidence-based or whatever. If you had to ask me, what is the thing that narcissistic parents do that pisses off their children the most? It is the way that narcissistic parents assuage their own guilt. That's like the worst. Absolute. Like, it's just so infuriating. Like, you hurt me, and instead of just admitting that you hurt me and saying sorry, you double down and you make things worse, and then you say shit like this. I'm doing it for I want you to focus on real things. It's like, I'm developing a skill in my free time. Donated my guitar when I got good at playing. Said it was too loud. See, this is all this weird defensive stuff. And if you try to point it out to them, they have no idea. I really believe they're incapable of understanding. Okay? Now, let's understand a little bit. Why is it so hard for them to see? Okay, so now we're going to tie a couple things together. So remember that the way I feel about myself as a narcissist depends on the way that people treat me. So whether I'm a good parent or a bad parent depends on how you treat me. So here's the crazy thing. If you're a child with a narcissistic parent, you actually have the most power. Everyone's like, oh, my parent has a ton of power. No, you have the power. Because you determine whether they feel good about themselves. I want y'all to really think about that. They have no independent sense of identity. You determine your actions determine how they feel about themselves. And this can be infuriating as a child, right? Because now they want you to be tennis champion. Now they want you to be homecoming queen. Now they want you to be a loser. Now they don't want you to be successful. They're going to try to control you because you are a proxy of them. And it can be in either direction. The more pathetic you are, the more sick you are. Oh, baby's sick, baby's sick. I made so many sacrifices to take care of baby. I'm such a good mother. I sacrificed so much for my baby. Oh shit, you're getting healthy? No, don't get healthy. Oh my God. Because if you get healthy, then what am I? oh no, here we go. Oh, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of feces, I'm going to mix it with water, and I'm going to inject it into poor baby's veins, because that way you will get sick. And if you get sick, then mommy can take care of you. I shit y'all not. Factitious disorder done by narcissistic parents all the fucking time. This is where I gotta say, y'all, I'm a psychiatrist. And as a psychiatrist, you sometimes get called on consults of children in the pediatric ICU who have an endocarditis with Faecalibacterium. Endocarditis is an infection of the inside of the heart with bacteria that belong in your poop. How does it get there? If you're not an intravenous drug user, that can sometimes happen. But even then, it's not Faecalibacterium. It's usually oral bacteria, right? This shit happens for real. This is it's a diagnosis that we have. It is a pattern that in my training, we are taught to look out for. That's more than narcissism. That's psychotic. Bro, remember at the very beginning when we said this is cluster B. This is why I love cluster B. It's all one pot of soup that just manifests in slightly different ways. Okay? Someone saying I was eating. Well, I did it. I said that if you were eating, you should thank me for ruining your experience, because now you will eat less and you will be more healthy and you will hit your weight loss goals because you're fucking overweight. That's the narcissistic response. No responsibility. I was doing you a favor. Easy. Done. Praise me. I'm Dr. K. You owe me. I ruined your meal. You should be donating to me right now for doing you such a favor. Okay? This is the psychology of a narcissist. There's no like way to win. There's no way to win if we're playing without understanding. Okay? Okay, y'all with me? Sorry. Honestly though, I'm sorry for ruining your meal. I will try to do better in the future. Realistically, I don't know if I have the cognitive bandwidth to think about that. I'm going to have to worry about that a little bit later. Okay? All right. The other thing about guilt, I got off track. The problem with guilt is that, remember, my identity depends on how you treat me. So if I hurt you and you don't like me, that's like a fatal blow to my narcissism. So when a narcissist feels guilty, that is when they will engage in the worst behaviors. Because if I feel guilty, that means I hurt my child. And the one thing that I cannot tolerate is that I would hurt my child. This is why it's so hard to be a narcissist. The child of a narcissist is the worst victim of a narcissist, because a narcissist can hurt anyone else, and that makes me feel like 5% guilty, 50% guilty. But to hurt my child, oh my God, my child, my poor, sweet, innocent child that I brought into this world, I could never hurt them, because anyone who hurts children is a real asshole. And I may be a lot of things, but I ain't no real asshole. I'm a good person. You don't see the sacrifices I make for you. You don't see how hard I've done so much for you, and you're so ungrateful. You're so mad at me. You don't understand. Oh, get me? So here's the crazy thing. So infuriating. When they hurt you and you do the stupid thing of, oh my God, being hurt by their asshole behavior, doubles down on the narcissism. And that's why it's so painful. Because when they mess up your life, you're not even allowed to be upset about it. Because if you're upset about it, the narcissistic behavior encourages, right? So with this person, what I think is like not crazy at all is if this person, if this person tries again or says, oh mom, like you really like hurt me a lot. And the narcissist parent's response is going to be, yeah, I don't think you can have any hobbies anymore. Like the more you try to tell them what the problem is, the more they punish you for it. So it's hard to deal with. Now the question becomes how to deal with it. Don't worry, chat. Very doable. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying I've done it a fair number of times with my patients. Okay, so it's doable. Okay, so first thing to understand, half the pain is the confusion. So like, honestly, like I feel like when I work with my patients, them understanding these dynamics, like once you understand how the narcissist works, it's like, it's like meteorology and the weather. It's like just because you can't control the weather, but meteorology like tells you what to expect. And once you know what to expect, then you can manage things way better. And the really confusing thing about having a narcissistic parent is that you have all of these expectations which are based on the real world and a, generally speaking, healthy personality structure. So a lot of the things that we do, like, this is so confusing. My mom tells me she loves me so much. Why does she keep on throwing out the things that I care about the most? And so, like, when I work with some patients, and we'll get to why I do this in a second, you know, it's like, okay, the next time you're interested in something, either don't show her or make her a part of it. One of those two things. It'll flip the behavior very, very simply. Not always, but generally speaking, it works pretty well. Okay, so if you want to get it done, then you do it. Just let them be a part of it. Hey, mom, I'm trying to figure out, you know, I really want to learn how to draw. Can you help me find a drawing tablet? And it's like, hey, thank you for getting me this drawing tablet. I wouldn't be, look at what I made. I would have never been able to make this without you. Now, if that gives you the ick, it gives me the ick too, because that's not true. You're actually, it's just lying. It's lying. It's like, why am I lying to my narcissistic parent? It's because you want to get the hell away from them. And if you don't have to lie. I'm not saying you need to lie. We'll get to that in a second. But this, like, it works, right? So first of all, understand the personality structure. It'll smooth things out for you. And at the end of the day, like, when I'm with my patients, my goal is to help them live a happy and healthy life. And oftentimes, I know this is going to sound insane. I know, chat, what I'm saying is going to be unbelievable. Getting a narcissist to admit their mistakes and receiving an apology in closure is actually harder. I know it's crazy. Is actually harder than giving them credit for something that they don't deserve any credit for. Getting them to be honest with you about the nature of existence is actually harder. I know it's wild. But when we've been hurt, it hurts us a lot to do that. Does that make sense? Like, we don't want to do that. It doesn't feel good. So now let's get to the second thing, which is boundary setting. So a lot of people love setting boundaries with narcissistic parents. Feels so good. Set boundaries. I'm going to go low contact. I'm going to go no contact. I'm all for it. But when you work with narcissists or patients who have narcissistic parents, one of the unfortunate things that I've run into quite consistently is that boundary setting doesn't work for some people for a number of reasons. The first reason boundary setting doesn't work is because there's a power difference, really common between parent and child. I've had patients who try to set boundaries on their parents, and then their parents will, like, respond financially. It's like, if you're not going to let me see my grandkid, there goes your trust fund. And now if you ask for advice on the internet, people on the internet will be like, fuck them. You hold your boundaries. Ain't no trust fund worth dealing with a narcissistic parent. Really easy to say if you're someone on the internet who's not losing access to $50 million. Way harder if you're the one who's got the trust fund that has $50 million, right? Like, really difficult. The second thing is that setting boundaries is like this fucking American, Western, maybe European, like, kind of thing, right? So if you come from a culture that's like South American or South Asian, the concept of setting boundaries doesn't work the same way. I remember, so I, was talking about this subject once, was giving a lecture, and I was like, here's how you set boundaries. And someone from the audience was like, that's not going to work for me. I'm from Colombia. Like, there's no way. You just can't set boundaries on your narcissistic grandmother. Like, you just can't do that in Colombian culture. Now, that's an issue of debate of how much can you do, can't you do. But I think this sort of general current of independence, which we assume in the West, is challenging for a lot of cultures in the world. So boundary setting is wonderful, but boundary setting requires power. That's the key thing. So when I set boundaries on my child's video game usage, if they violate the boundary, I have more power than they have. And so the big problem with setting boundaries on your narcissistic parent is that it requires power. And if they have more power than you do, it becomes really hard to do. That is the reason that I went this road with my patients, right? So, like, some of my patients, it's like they have power and then things become relatively easy. They still have to deal with guilt and stuff like that. Even if you set boundaries, your narcissistic parent will punish you in other ways. They'll talk shit about you to your aunts and uncles. They'll guilt trip you. They'll say things to your cousins. And then they do this really interesting thing where they push you into a corner. They use a lot of indirect aggression, which I recommend y'all check out our female bullying video. It's a video on indirect aggression. Not necessarily men can do it too. Men do it too. But they'll do this thing where they keep on talking shit about you. And then if you complain about it, they become the victim. You guys ever been like Uno reversoed where you're like, hey, mom or dad, please stop doing this. And they're like, oh my God, you've cut me out of your life. You're not letting me see your grandkids. I can't believe you would do that. How cruel. I'm the victim. I'm the victim. I'm the victim. Okay? So that's why like boundary setting like sort of works. It's going to work, but it's going to like cause a lot of collateral damage. And sometimes you may not have the power. If you're a 17-year-old girl living with your parents and your parents are doing this kind of shit, I'm sorry to say the power dynamic is not in your favor, right? So that's why like boundary setting, I think works, but it's like a luxurious response. So we should set boundaries and we'll get to that. But I don't think it's as simple as everyone says. Everyone's like, set boundaries. Yeah, like they're not the ones getting fucked by your narcissistic parent when you set boundaries, right? So it's like easy for them to say. So then the question becomes, okay, what do we do? So now we're going to play their fucking game. Let's go. I didn't need an F-bomb there, but I'm excited. Okay. Next thing to understand. So first of all, just understand what's going on with them. Understand that they don't understand what's going on the inside. We'll get to that in a little bit. But most important thing is to play a game of symbols, not substance. So in most human interactions, they are substantive interactions, which means that when I do something for you, there is something on the inside that drives it. It's like when I give you a gift, the gift is a symbol of my love for you. That make sense? As most human beings navigate the world, we engage with actions that mean something on the inside. So with narcissists, they have no substance. They only have symbols. This is why it's the most dangerous thing you can ever get from a narcissist is an apology. They say, oh my God, I'm so sorry I hurt you. Oh my God, I'm so sorry I hurt you. You deserve more than that. And I'm your parent and I need to be better. And then when they say that, you're like, oh my God, feels so good. The apology, thank you so much for acknowledging what you've done. And then they've roped you back in. They don't know how to apologize. They don't know what that means. Here's what's going on. They see you subconsciously. They know you're pulling away. They know they've gone too far. They know, oh my God, now my child has power. They're going to set boundaries on me. I don't like boundaries. Boundaries make me feel bad. If they disappear, then I'm no one. Internally, they're panicking. So all they do is engage in behaviors that move the board position back to where they like it. That's the way I want y'all to think about it. This is not an apology. It's a symbol of an apology designed to rope you back in. This is why they're so hard to get rid of, because they are actually acutely, subconsciously sensitive to where you are. They're so subconscious. They're not aware at all, but deep down, they have some fucking ChatGPT level of calculation, right? Just like ChatGPT, they can calculate a ton of different iterations, and they know exactly what to say. There's nothing behind it, but they know when calling you stupid is going to pull you back in. They know when they call you stupid too much, that your anger is building up and you're about to cut ties with them. Boom, they're going to apologize. Are they even human? They are not human in a very substantive way. That is the whole point of mentalization-based therapy. There is an acknowledgement in the psychiatric community that what we normally call human is something that is fundamentally missing in people with NPD, BPD, and sociopathy. That does not mean that it can't be regained. BPD in that way has, I think, some of the best outcomes. So 95+% of people within 16 years, BPD will be gone. So people can learn it. But I think it's important to not assume that they have the standard set of human faculties, because they don't. That's why that's what we do in therapy. We teach them these core faculties that we assume that most human beings have. They are humans. They deserve compassion, in my opinion. So I tend to be very compassionate towards narcissists, very empathetic towards narcissists, but don't fall for their shit, okay? So they play a game of symbols, not a game of substance. And here's the cool thing. You can play that too. And then your capacity to manage them will increase astronomically. If you don't, and this is like, I don't know if y'all are like this, but if you guys have grown up with narcissists, you'll notice that people are good at handling them, and it pisses us off, right? Because they're like, oh my God, I can't believe these people are humoring these narcissists. They're playing all their games. They're stroking their ego. Yeah, because it works really well. The narcissist is the easiest person to manipulate on the planet. And if you're looking for authenticity for them, good luck. But play the game of symbols. So when you just think about the symbol that they're looking for from you, and if you give it to them, the narcissistic behavior will decrease. Now you'll say, aren't you reinforcing this behavior? Yeah, you are. But like, hold the fuck on for a second. Are you telling me that in addition to living your life, you want to therapize this person and behaviorally put them in the right way so that they become a healthy part of society? Like, what? Let them have their narcissistic behavior. It's hard enough getting away from them. You're telling me that you want the responsibility of like turning them into a regular human being and teaching them the right way? What? That's my job. I'm the psychiatrist, not you. I wouldn't want you to do that. I want you to get the fuck away from them and go live your life and have fun. And if giving them some symbolic gesture along the way without substance works, then go for it. So you can separate out that substance from that symbol. Hey, mom or dad, I'm so sorry I can't come home I can't come home. I don't want to come home because you're awful. And every time I come home, you just make me feel depressed. You beat me up. You say all kinds of things for my benefit, but it just makes me feel worse. You don't say that. They're going to be like, oh, I love you. Don't say that. Oh, I promise I won't say anything. I'm so sorry. You've done so much for me, right? And this is why, like, I love this. So when I'm working with my patients, there's a part of me that like saying this shit just gives me the ick. So y'all know what I do? Like I work with my patients to workshop sentences that are not dishonest, that are the symbol they need. Hey, mom or dad, I'm sorry I can't come home. You made me the person I am today. The beautiful thing about that sentence is it's not a lie, but it means one thing to you and it means something very different to them. So if that's what you need to do, do it, right? Like you made me the person I am today. And they're going to be like, oh, tell me how I'm great. And you're like, right? Like on the inside. So I think you can demonstrate the symbols because that's what they're going to respond to. That's what they're looking for, right? The reason they take away the guitar is because they're looking for a symbol of submission. And that's where when I work with people, like what we sort of advocate for, it depends on their individual circumstance, but you should go and live your life. Like every step of living your life is a step that you should take. And then you may need to manage your narcissistic parent as a consequence. So when you go to college, and like this is where it's just like, okay, when you go to college, you can say, hey, like I'll miss you a lot, right? Or if you don't want, miss you is maybe not the right word. So that we can workshop this a little bit. Like, yeah, my life there is going to be completely different from my life here. It's going to be such a drastic change. I don't know how I will handle it. And in your mind, you're like, I don't know if I'm going to get myself balloons. I don't know if I'm going to throw myself a party. I don't know. And then they're like, oh my God, they're going to be crying. It's going to be so hard for them. Enabling holy? Yeah. See, enabling is a really good word. And this is where like, I would call it, I mean, it's enabling sort of, but really what you're doing is enabling yourself, right? So I'm not saying that you should do it all the time just to keep them calm. I'm saying that you should be calculated with the way that you deal with them. You should understand that they are jealous of you. You should understand that there's a time for a fight and there's a time for peace. You should understand, and this is what honestly, all my patients have taught me this, that if you are in a power dynamic with your narcissistic parent, attacking them head on rarely works well. Developing your independence becomes number one, and then you set boundaries. Go for it. There is a time where you stop enabling their behavior. But that's a luxury that only the powerful have, right? And if y'all want to call that enabling, fine. And like, let's think about that for a second. What bothers you about enabling? Serious question. Why is it bad to enable a narcissist? Okay, they win. Their actions are unfair. I agree 100%. And then I ask you, do you want freedom or do you want justice? And then you say, in a perfect world, I'll have both. And I agree with you. Look, if you have the mental fortitude to let them kick you out of their house, live in your car. I've had patients who do this too. Fucking amazing human beings. The truth of the matter is that most of the people that I work with don't have that level of extra resilience. I don't say the people I work with are incredibly resilient. If you grew up with a narcissistic parent, you are incredibly resilient. The problem is all of your resilience has been like, your damage reduction is 90%. Fine, you're incredibly resilient, but you've taken a ton of damage over the years, so you're still at critical health, right? So your damage reduction, your armor rating is different from your HP pool. And when I work with people who have narcissistic parents, what walks into my office is a nubbin that has been ground down by their parents. They don't have a whole lot left, honestly. And the path to freedom for them involves slow playing it, involves enabling behavior that pisses them off, involves some degree of empathy and understanding that if I want to get what I want, I have to play this person's game for a while. So what if you feel guilty for going no contact? Excellent question. That's where, once again, empathy, understanding, and compassion will be your antidote to guilt. The understanding, and here's the key thing about guilt around narcissistic parents. You can't change them. You can't. They have to want to change. And so I also have a lot of patients that develop healthy relationships with their narcissistic parents in some form. It is like relatively healthy. And that's because once they do this kind of stuff, once they demonstrate the symbols, calm down the narcissistic defense, and this is crazy, but understand this, okay? Once you demonstrate the symbols and you calm down the narcissistic defense, then when you speak, they will be able to hear you. Sometimes they still can't. I've worked with some people that really can't. But sometimes they can hear something really small. Hey, I want to come home for the holidays. I feel guilty about not coming home for the holidays, but honestly, every time I come home, the things that you say make me feel so bad about myself. And this is where, if you're talking to a narcissist, remember, we're focusing on the symbols, not the substance. That means focus on their actions, not their impact. Not you hurt me, not you don't love me, not I'm disappointed in you. They don't know what to do with that shit. The words you say when you call every single day. When you call, the first thing that you tell me is how I don't answer the phone. That makes it hard for me to answer the phone. Be very concrete. And it's possible. Like, I have hope. Now, next thing that we got to talk about, I guess the last thing, is living with a narcissistic parent is one of the saddest things that I've encountered as a psychiatrist. And it's like kind of a weird reason. The really sad thing about having a narcissistic parent is that the moment you have a narcissistic parent, you lose a parent. Like, you don't have a regular parent. You don't have a loving parent. Like, a narcissistic parent is a replacement for a good parent. Like, they come in and they take the opportunity for you to have a good parent in your life and they take it away. If you're lucky and you're blessed, hopefully you have one good parent who's not narcissistic, who helps you and supports you and loves you and all that kind of stuff. And the grief of having a narcissistic parent is profound. The amount of screwed in life you are, the profound sadness, the profound, like, just how much can you get screwed in life when you have a narcissistic parent is astronomical. And it is because that feels so bad that doing these symbolic gestures is so hard. It's like, if I've lost all of this and this parent has taken all of this away from me, you want me to humor them? You want me to have a symbol of kindness? You want me to lay down and take it? That's one step too far. I'm at 1 HP. I cannot give a single more hit point. It's so hard because of the grief. The sense of loss is profound. And it is the sense of loss that also keeps us stuck. Because on the one hand, if I say, do this thing, you'll say, that's enabling. I don't want to do that thing. But if y'all have narcissistic parents, you know how hard you've tried to develop a healthy relationship with them. Blood, sweat, and tears. You're paying 200%, they're paying 0%. Anytime you make them pay, they transfer the debt to you. Anytime you tell them, hey, you hurt me, they feel guilty, they punish you for it. Like, what the fuck? How is that ever fair? Because you've tried. If y'all have narcissistic parents, you know what I'm talking about. You've tried and tried and tried. It doesn't work. And that's because there's nothing going on the inside. Not nothing. But they lack the capacity to mentalize. And it's like, it's really bad. And the other thing that makes this grief so bad, and this is why, like, I'm really grateful. I don't know if psychologists get these kinds of opportunities. I'm not saying that psychiatrists are better than psychologists. And I mention that because I'm afraid it's going to come off that way. But I really love being a medical doctor. And the reason for that is, like, I will get consulted in places like the neuro ICU because there's someone who's in a coma. And when someone's in a coma, it's a very special kind of grief, devastating kind of grief. See, if you have a spouse that dies, they're gone and you can grieve and move on. When they're in a coma, grieving is really difficult because they're not there practically, but you can't afford to grieve and let go because they could wake up tomorrow. What if you move on and they wake up? What if you get remarried and they wake up? Like, then what the fuck? And honestly, when I work with patients who have narcissistic parents, the grief that they experience is not the grief of death. It's the grief of coma because you're holding on to hope that one day your parent may wake up One day your parent may realize what they've done to you. One day there's an opportunity that you have had this asshole parent your whole life, but oh my God, all you want is a mother who understands and loves you. All you want is a mother who, instead of punishing you, takes your pain away. All you want is a mother who takes 200% of the work and leaves you with a 0% of the work. That's what other people get, man. They get moms who tank shit for them, not thrust them into the damage. And since that human being is alive, and since you've seen a spark of compassion here or there, when the narcissistic defense mechanisms sometimes calm down and your mom or dad says, hey, I've been a shit parent to you sometimes, you see that glimmer, and that's not a symbol, that's substance. Deep down in there, they may be blind to it, but sometimes the clouds part and you see it. And since you see it, that's why you feel guilty. That's why you can't let go. That's why you keep trying and keep hoping. I want a parent. I deserve a parent. And every now and then, every once in a while, I believe there's one in there. And so you're stuck. You can't leave them behind, because just like they're tangled up with you, you're tangled up with them. Because what kind of person would you be if you abandoned your narcissistic parent? You'd be a bad person. And therefore, you can't handle that. So you need to be a good person. And a good person doesn't abandon their parents. My parents abandoned me. I don't want to abandon them. I don't want to do the same thing that they did to me, even though that's what you want more than anything else. It's so tangled up. What do you do about it? I don't know. Notice, right? That there's a part of you that wants this parent. You want them to wake up. And here's the really cool thing and really sad thing, is that I think the best thing to do is to grieve them, to say, you know what, in my karma in this life, like, I'm not getting a regular parent. To go and live your life, to separate, to individuate, to set boundaries when you need to, and play the game of symbols when you can't. You can't transform them into a healthy parent. The best you can do is to have a life of your own. And the really beautiful thing is that I see consistently a level of peace with narcissistic parents if you walk this road and you're lucky and you do it in the right way. If you give them enough of a symbolic gesture and you start to build a life, and then sometimes you calm down the narcissistic defense mechanisms and you say something, occasionally something will sink in. And then you'll go up to them and you'll have a grandkid one day and you go to your parents and you say, look, mom or dad, you've had a huge impact on me in my life. Some of it has been good, some of it has been less than good. If you want a relationship with your grandchild, you need to go to therapy. Or I want you to go to therapy. Will you please go to therapy? One of those may work way better than the other. Do y'all understand? And if you feel anger and resentment, you say you have to go to therapy if you're going to set a boundary, they may not respond well to that. And then what you have to ask yourself is, this is so, I don't know if this is going to make sense. Sometimes my patients will say things to their narcissistic parents that they know their parents cannot handle. You need to go to therapy. Deep down, you know if you say that, they never fucking will. And if they never fucking will, then there won't be any repair. And if there's never any repair, then you won't have to do any work, and you can just go to your grave hating them. Such sweet, simple, so easy. It's hard, but it can be easy. Y'all with me? And sometimes, will you go to therapy? Please go to therapy. I want to form a bond with you, but this is what I really think you need to do, or let's do it together. And it takes immense courage. I would never, ever, ever blame someone for not walking that path. It takes more strength than I have. It's like superhuman. That's why I love being a psychiatrist, because I see human beings that are amazingly powerful. Like, just fucking, that's why I believe that human beings have a spark of divinity, not because of the yoga stuff, but because I've seen some human beings who've had such shit lives that can somehow dig deep and have like compassion, be willing to do more work. They've been doing 200% of the work. Their narcissistic parent has been doing 0. And they say, I'll do 250, you do 50. And it's wild, y'all. And if you don't have that strength, like, that's okay. Like, I don't think it's possible for humans to, generally speaking, have that strength. So it's hard. If y'all want to set boundaries, if you want to be angry, I think it's completely reasonable. But if you're not in a position to do that, understand narcissism. Understand your parent. You can't change the weather, but it sure as hell helps to know what's coming down the road and how it works so you can prepare appropriately. Let's do questions. Question number 1. Having grown up with a narcissistic parent, How do I avoid becoming a narcissistic parent myself? Easy, don't have kids. Right? Okay. But no, that's not the real answer. Y'all got to remember, I'm an internet troll too. The first is, if you're afraid of this, you should be. So there's a lot of evidence that shows that growing up with a parent with a personality disorder is a really good way to imbue the personality disorder in the child. So there's probably a certain amount of genetic inheritance, but then there's all other kinds of like developmental things, right? So there's a developmental component and a genetic component. So if you're concerned about being a narcissistic parent, that's a step in the right direction. The other cool thing is it actually solves like 30% of the problem right there. So if you sort of think about what is the core problem of a narcissistic parent, it is a lack of awareness that they are a narcissistic parent. They have all of these defense mechanisms that prevent them from seeing what they are. So if you have the wherewithal to ask the question, that is already 1/3 or maybe even 70% of the work right there. So in psychiatry, the people who make the worst mistakes are the people who lack awareness that they could be making a mistake. So people who deny that they have an addiction are the ones who develop the worst addictions, right? People who think that their level of anxiety is normal or ADHD is normal, or they're like, oh, like I thought everybody was like this. They're the ones who struggle the most. So if you're even concerned about it, that is a huge step. Because if we think about, is your narcissistic parent concerned about being a narcissistic parent? Chances are no. So that's huge. The second thing is, if we look at the fundamental treatment for narcissism, it is about mentalization, or that's the one that I like the best. So you can do like psychoanalysis and stuff, but I like mentalization a lot. So mentalization is an understanding that your actions come from things within you. So if we look at this example, this mom has no idea why they remove art supplies. They come up with some answer in their head, but they don't dig deeper. So anytime you engage in a behavior, what was I thinking? What was I feeling? If I had not done this, what would I have felt? So the more that you have insight into yourself, the less narcissistic you will become. Okay? Next thing about avoiding narcissism is we have a lot of stuff about like ego and the development of confidence and the reduction of ego. So all of those kinds of practices, like shunya-oriented meditations, in my clinical practice seem to help people who have narcissistic personality structures. So there are certain practices that we do that we develop a sense of self that can be incredibly helpful. You can always go to therapy. That's always helpful for narcissism if you're concerned about it. And then the last thing is that remember that the core problem of narcissistic parenting is a lack of individuation of your child from you. So the key question that I would ask people who do not want to become narcissistic parents is, when you become a narcissistic parent and your child wants to do something, how does that reflect on you? The more aware of that connection you are, the less narcissistic you will become, right? So when your child wants to, I don't know, like eat on the subway, how much of that is like a hygiene problem and how much of it is like you're worried about what people will think if you're one of those parents who has a child who eats on the subway? Right? There's a very subtle difference there between how much is this actually inconveniencing people and how much is this like, I'm going to look like a bad parent. And so that's the key thing. And over time, let them individuate, let them become their own person. And you may notice that you have feelings of jealousy towards your child. Keep an eye out for those. And it's okay to feel that way. And I would kind of balance that with like, okay, I feel that. And why do you feel that? Why is your narcissistic parent jealous of you? It's because they were never given the chance to individuate. Does that make sense? They're jealous of your child. You're jealous of your child because they get to live a good life when you didn't. And it's okay for you to acknowledge that and say, like, the reason I'm jealous is because I want, you know, and this is like the goal of a parent. The goal of a parent is to be the parent that they wanted. Does that kind of make sense? I had deficiencies. My parents had deficiencies. I had deficiencies in my parenting, or my parents had deficiencies that caused me problems, and I'm going to try to correct those. And so in a weird way, if you're internally aware, you can change the way that you feel about things. If you're not internally aware, you can't. So as that jealousy happens, then I think I would acknowledge like, hey, I'm jealous of my child because they have the life that I want. And you can lean into that. and you're like, that's beautiful. What would I want for my child? The last thing that I want for my child is the life that I had. And I feel jealous of them because I am giving them exactly what I would want to give them. And that jealousy can turn into pride. I'm fixing it in the next generation forward. This is not generational trauma. That can help you feel good about yourself. And when you feel good about yourself, then the narcissism doesn't exist. Narcissism requires you to feel bad about yourself. But if you're not careful and you feel jealous of your child, the narcissistic defense is, oh my God, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. How can I be jealous of my child? This makes me a bad parent. And then you run away from it. I'm not really jealous. You got to lean into it. Lean into those feelings. See what's on the other side. Hey y'all, hope you enjoyed today's video. We talk about a bunch of topics like this on the channel, so be sure to subscribe for more. If you're already subscribed, GG, and we'll see you in chat.